I want to start all of this off with talking about Aaron Rodgers. And man, that was something. That press conference was, it seemed like everybody was tuning in. I can't remember a press conference that had as many eyeballs on it. And it made sense after all of the drama throughout the summer. And it was really good to see Rodgers get a lot of praise finally from the media. Guys like Chris Collinsworth had a really cool tweet praising him for his leadership, which Rodgers virtually never gets praise for. Colin Cowherd, who's hasn't exactly been the biggest Rodgers fanboy throughout his career, really applauding everything that Rodgers did, and some of the bravery it took from him to speak up on some of the issues that are going on in Green Bay right now relative to the rest of the league, and some of the players around the league too. Kyler Murray was kind of funny to see Kyler tweet about it because we got the Rodgers J here behind me and the Kyler Murray J there as well. So those are my quarterbacks, I guess. But yeah, good to see Rodgers finally get some praise after all summer. The narrative really being, whether it was in the media, podcasts, or just the private conversations I've had with people, people just shredding Rodgers, calling him, selfish and vindictive and, a crybaby and all this stuff. And that really was not the player that took the podium for 30 minutes on Tuesday, I think it was. I thought Rodgers was extremely professional, respectful. He was collected. And most importantly, he made some really good points and really brought the receipts. Like, he came with specific details, with evidence and the stuff that he's mad about, which you just got to respect. A guy that has put his thoughts together that, we always say, like, if you're going to have an opinion about anything, at least be convicted in that opinion and have good reasons for that opinion. It's no different in Rodgers' case with how he feels about how the organization has treated him. Whether you agree with it or not, you can't deny that in his mind they have wronged him. And he points out that his requests are not unreasonable here. He's not asking for anything that any other quarterback of his stature hasn't gotten over the last 30 years. So I just want to lead off by saying, like, Rodgers as a leader really came through, in my opinion. It was good to see him finally get some respect. It's not going to carry all the way through, and that takes me to just kind of this narrative that is. I won't talk about this forever, but I want to call out Adam Schefter again. Like, Adam Schefter deserves so much freaking criticism. This has honestly been one of my better takes throughout the summer, was how Adam Schefter really screwed over Aaron Rodgers here and borderline, like, I don't know, defamed him or defaced him for releasing this story on draft day. And I said it like a week after that happened back in May. I had a podcast about it. I was talking about how this is so ridiculous. Like, I had podcasters that I respected attacking Aaron Rodgers, saying how selfish he was. Family members saying, what a jerk, how selfish. He took that day away from all of the prospects. No, that was Adam freaking Schefter who did that. And that narrative kept going throughout the entire summer. And Aaron Rodgers addressed that himself, and he even kind of called out Adam Schefter in a subtle way, which is, for those that have followed Aaron Rodgers' career, he'll drop little notes in there that are very subtle, but you know what he's talking about. And there was a reporter that asked him, were there any areas where you felt misunderstood throughout this whole process? And I'm going to read his whole quote here. The media loves to put out stories when there's not enough content to put out there. There were times I could have said something. I love this city, this organization, and I didn't want to get into a pissing match with the team that's employed me for 16 years and paid me a lot of money. I felt like handling things behind closed doors was the right way to do it. And then he goes on and confirms that there were leaks, but that he and his management can confirm that they did not come from him. He then said that, I don't know what I would have had to gain from leaking stuff on draft day. And he looks up in disgust and rolls his eyes. That was directly pointed at Adam Schefter. And that, again, guys, I think this is one of my better takes. Throughout the summer, I said, screw Adam Schefter. He is just defacing Aaron Rodgers. He knew exactly what he was doing when he released that story, and he was doing it for clicks. Like, how selfish. I have lost so much respect for Adam Schefter this summer. Not just that, but he doubled down on it. He was like, Rodgers is gone. Like, Green Bay has already lost Aaron Rodgers. I could not have lost any more respect for Adam Schefter. He's still very good at his job, but he deserves so much criticism for what has happened for this whole story. And the other thing I said about this was I was telling people, like, what does Rodgers have to gain from coming out and denying, like, fake reports about him calling Brian Gutekunst, Jerry Krause, and all this stuff? Rodgers had nothing to gain from this. I thought he handled this as any man in a business should handle things. You handle things behind closed doors to a man. He didn't want to get into a pissing match. He didn't want to, blast this team that he does love. He does still want to play for this team. He still loves the Packers. Unfortunately, they don't love him because they drafted his replacement. So he's put in a really tough spot. So this has really played out the way I kind of called this out in my podcast in May. And Rodgers obviously not happy with the media that has spent the majority of Rodgers' career really finding reasons to attack his character. And I thought for the people that watched that press conference, that was not a vindictive, selfish crybaby. That was a thoughtful leader of an organization that just wants to help his team win. So it was really good to see him get sort of praise for his character, his off-field stuff that everybody just constantly attacks him for. But for anyone that's followed his career, the stuff that you see in the media just doesn't sync up with the player that you see in press conferences, in other content that he does, whether it's the Pat McAfee show or the Pete Holmes podcast. It's just not who Aaron is. So I wanted to get that out of the way and now talk about more of the football side of this. What kind of happened here and what does this mean for the future of the Packers? So Rodgers made it easy on us. He was very clear about what he's wanted here, just like to a T, like bringing the receipts. Like I said, at the top of all this, he wants to be a resource for the team that he loves, was kind of the term that it felt like he kept reiterating in different ways. He just wants to be allowed to help the team win. He knows his value. He sees what other quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, around the league are able to do as far as recruiting and different things, and just being viewed as more than just a player, basically, is what he wants. And you also have to consider the unique situation in Green Bay that has complicated this entire mess, where Green Bay doesn't have an owner. If it was any other team, Aaron Rodgers would go right to the owner, he would voice his complaints, they would have a one-on-one conversation, and more likely than not, the owner would be like, yeah, I think that's fair, let me go talk to the GM. Problem solved. But unfortunately, you can't do that in Green Bay. There's a whole board of directors. You got Mark Murphy. You get in a pissing match with him. You've got Brian Gutekunst and the power he has. So, man, it was a big mess. But yeah, basically the things that Rodgers was listing through that he wants, and again, he was very specific about this stuff. He wants to be able to recruit free agents. He had offered years ago, and he has consistently said, I know the players around the league. I've had people come to me and say, yeah, I'll come to Green Bay and play for you. All Rodgers wanted was to have a communication between the front office, Rodgers, and the free agents, and he just wanted to help recruit free agents, which, my God, that's my whole thing with Green Bay for the last decade, is why do they view free agency like the plague? And that seems no different with how Rodgers wanted to help out there. He talked about when they hired Matt LaFleur, he was really disappointed that he wasn't even consulted. I mean, what the heck, man? Do you really think the Atlanta Falcons didn't talk to Matt Ryan about Arthur Smith? Just ask the head coach. That's why Deshaun Watson wants a trade from Houston. He was told that they would consult him, and then they didn't. Rodgers kind of similar there, and then he wants to be able to voice his opinions to the front office on kind of the locker room feel. He talks about how he has kind of a unique perspective, having seen the Charles Woodsons and the Julius Peppers and the Jordy Nelsons of the world come and go. He knows what having that veteran presence in the locker room can mean to team chemistry. And he talks about how it's not even so much about, as it gets to the last point, where he wants the organization to treat outgoing veterans with more respect. He talks about the relationships, and that's leadership, man. That is having relationships with your players, which is everything people always criticize Aaron Rodgers for, is that he doesn't care about his teammates. Well, he's literally out here pouring his heart out for all of the teammates he's loved throughout the last 10 years. So there goes that narrative, I guess. But yeah, he wants to have more of an open communication between the outgoing veterans that either get lowballed or the team doesn't even talk to. I mean, do you guys know that the Green Bay Packers didn't even get on the phone with Corey Linsley and his agent? They didn't even get on the phone with Casey Hayward and his agent. They didn't even call to see if they would take a hometown discount. They didn't even call and tell them, sorry, we're a little low on cap space. We really appreciate your services. If your market's a little slower, in the case of a Casey Hayward, for example, let's open a line of communication. Rodgers just wants all the things that literally every front office in the NFL is doing. That's including the Raiders and Texans of the world. He just wants improvement is all he wants. And he knows he's been around the league for 20 years. Yes, he's a player, but he's not dumb. I mean, just listen to him talk about the salary cap in that press conference. The guy clearly has a firm understanding of how the league operations work. And he's seen it around the league, and he's not dumb, and he knows, just as I've said for years, that Green Bay is not doing things the right way. And he is using his platform to fix those things. Now, did they accomplish that? It doesn't really seem so. According to Rodgers, he still doesn't expect to be a part of those conversations. And it seems that they reached kind of this midway point. And honestly, the agreement they reached is ideal for Green Bay. I can't have imagined a better arrangement from Green Bay's perspective, because they eventually want to get to Jordan Love, and they don't want to really open up this can of worms of giving players power, which in the case of a Rodgers, I think they should ask Aaron Rodgers his opinion on things. So for Green Bay, this was perfect. They get their quarterback back. It's going to keep Devontae Adams in-house for a year, and they're going to really have the plan in place that they wanted. So for Green Bay, it couldn't really be any more perfect, and the outlook for this season is amazing, because they did actually manage to work this out in a situation where they have a relatively happy and prepared Aaron Rodgers coming in. I mean, he's obviously still upset about some things, but he does seem like he wants to be there. He does seem like he does genuinely love this team, and he's excited for the year. So that's obviously good. And what they did was they removed his 2023 contract season. They voided it, so it'll automatically go. He will not be on the team in 2023. He will, though, in 2022 still be under contract. And that's where it could get murky again, but it does really feel like that was always Green Bay's window, was have Jordan Love sit for 2 years. The way that Rodgers' contract is aligned as far as dead salary, they wanted 2 more years of Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to get 2 more years of Aaron Rodgers. Whether that's good for them or not, Green Bay is getting what they wanted. And eventually Aaron Rodgers is going to get what he wants as well, essentially playing on like a franchise tag type of situation. That was the other part of this, was Green Bay cannot franchise tag him, which was the same thing Brady deployed to get out of New England, where some of this similar stuff was going on. So, yeah, it's really just overall pretty positive vibes. I think Aaron's happy that he's at least been able to voice his opinion, and if they're able to change the way this organization operates, he might stick around. He might play here till he's 45. I don't think that's impossible. If they win a Super Bowl and Randall Cobb goes off and Brian Gutekunst grows up and starts to ask Aaron Rodgers some more things, there's a chance that this plays out differently, where they're happy together and they just trade Jordan Love and kind of eat that draft pick and move forward for a long time with Aaron Rodgers, who wants to play for a long time. The future is still pretty unclear as far as that, but it does seem like likely Rodgers will get traded next year.